Soft jazz filled the air, mingling with the quiet arrogance of wealth. Crystal lights shimmered over a table of billionaires, lawyers, and one young woman they didn't even see. Ruby Park moved between them with practiced grace, a tray balanced in her hand, her black uniform blending into the shadows. To them she was furniture. To herself she was invisible until that night. At the head of the table, Victor Kane, the aging founder of Kane Tech Industries, stared at a sleek black phone. His breathing was shallow. Across from him, his nephew Derek raised a glass and smirked. "Relax, uncle," he sneered. "I've got everything under control." Victor's eyes flicked to the clock. 8:59. "If we miss this call," he whispered, "we lose everything." Then the phone began to ring. Sharp, cold, relentless. The men froze. Derek was gone. Panic spread like smoke. And for the first time, Ruby looked at the phone, then at the man gasping for air, and stepped forward. That single choice would expose betrayal, topple an empire, and make the invisible girl unforgettable. Stay with Canada's Heartfelt Tales. Hit subscribe, and see how one answer changed everything. Under the harsh glow of the chandelier, Ruby's heart raced. The phone kept ringing. Sharp, insistent, like it was counting down to something inevitable. No one moved. The men who had spent their lives commanding empires now looked paralyzed. Derek was still gone. Victor's lips trembled as he gasped for air, clutching his chest. His hand twitched toward the pillbox on the table, but it slipped through his fingers and clattered to the floor. Ruby didn't think. She dropped her tray, crossed the carpet, and caught the old man's hand before it hit the ground. "Sir, breathe slowly," she whispered, her voice steady despite the panic around her. The lawyers circled, bumping into one another, offering nothing but noise. "Someone call 911. One of them yelled, but no one moved toward the phone. Then, over the chaos, Victor managed to choke out a single word. "Call." His eyes darted to the black phone. "Takahashi." Ruby followed his gaze. The satellite phone blinked on the table, waiting, the green light pulsing like a heartbeat. None of them dared touch it. These men, dressed in $1,000 suits, stood frozen by fear of protocol. She could almost feel the seconds slipping away. The deal, the company, the man's life. It was all hanging on that call. She wiped her palms on her apron, stepped forward, and pressed the green button. "Kane Tech Industries," she said softly, her voice steady but low. There was silence. Then a deep voice responded in crisp Japanese. "Who is this? Where is Victor Kane?" Ruby's mind lit up. She recognized the tone. Sharp, impatient, powerful. Hiroshi Takahashi. She had read about him in business magazines back when she still dreamed of working in global markets. He was ruthless about time. Famous for walking away from multimillion-dollar deals if a meeting started 30 seconds late. "Mr. Takahashi," Ruby said, switching to perfect Japanese. "Please forgive us. Mr. Kane has suffered a medical emergency. He asked me personally to continue the discussion in his absence." Then the voice hardened. "And who are you?" Behind her, she heard whispers from the lawyers. "What is she saying? Is that Chinese? Hang up before she makes it worse." Ruby ignored them. She turned her back to the room, blocking the noise, forcing herself to breathe evenly. "I am Ruby Park," she replied in Japanese. "Mr. Kane's advisor for Asian operations." The words came out smooth, professional, half truth, half courage. There was a long silence. Then, a faint sound of interest from the other end. "You speak my language well, Mississippi Park," Takahashi said. "Very well. Let us proceed." Behind her, the doors burst open. Derek staggered in, his tie crooked, his arrogance returning before his sobriety. "Who the hell is touching my phone?" he barked. "Put that down." Ruby didn't turn. "If you speak," she whispered over her shoulder, "he'll hang up." For a second, the room froze. Derek's face turned red. "You stupid waitress." Victor raised his trembling hand from the chair. "Sit down," he rasped. "That's an order." Ruby continued the call. Her voice was calm, her mind sharp. She spoke numbers, terms, delivery schedules, all things she had overheard Derek brag about during the dinner. She weaved fragments of conversation into coherent answers, layering confidence over exhaustion. Each sentence bought them another minute. The call lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, the line clicked, and Ruby slowly lowered the phone. The room was silent. The lawyers stared. Derek stood frozen. Victor's eyes glistened with relief. "He agreed," Ruby said softly. "The deal is signed." The room exhaled as if it had been holding its breath for hours. Then Derek stormed forward. "You think that makes you a hero? You just impersonated an executive. You're fired." Ruby didn't flinch. She untied her apron, folded it neatly, and set it on the table beside the phone. "You didn't close that deal," she said quietly. "I did." Then she turned and walked out, her shoes sinking into the plush carpet as the doors closed behind her. 3 days later, Ruby sat on the edge of her narrow bed in a tiny Koreatown apartment. The glow of her cracked phone screen reflected in her tired eyes. Rejection email number 6. "Thank you for your interest, but we have decided to pursue other candidates." She let out a hollow laugh. She'd worked at the best restaurants in Los Angeles, trained entire teams, handled celebrity clients. Now no one would hire her. Her phone buzzed again. It was Lisa, her friend from another restaurant. "Ruby, I can't talk long," Lisa whispered. "You made an enemy of Derek Kane, didn't you?" Ruby frowned. "What are you talking about?" "There's a memo. Every major hospitality chain got it. Says you were fired for theft and misconduct. You're blacklisted, Ruby." "I'm so sorry." The line went dead. Ruby sat still for a long time, the city noise muffled through the thin walls. $43 in her bank account. Rent due in 2 days. And one man's lie had erased her entire career. Across the city, Derek sat in Victor's old chair, swirling whiskey, savoring the view. The office was his now, or so he believed. But when his assistant Brandon rushed in, face pale, he frowned. "What?" "It's Takahashi," Brandon stammered. "He's confirmed the signing dinner. But he requested that Mississippi Ruby Park be seated next to him." Derek laughed. "He thinks the waitress is a director. That's rich. Tell him she's unavailable." "We tried, sir," Brandon whispered. "He said if she doesn't attend, he won't sign." The laughter vanished from Derek's face. The glass slipped from his hand and shattered. That night, Ruby wiped down the counter of a 24-hour diner in East LA. The smell of coffee and burnt toast clung to her clothes. She was tired, beaten, but still moving. Then the doorbell chimed. A man in a tailored navy suit stepped inside. He looked completely out of place. Sharp eyes, calm presence. "Black coffee," he said. Then quietly, "Mississippi Park." Ruby froze. "You've got the wrong person." He set down a badge. "Isaiah Brooks, head of security for Victor Kane. I've been looking for you." Ruby's throat tightened. "If Derek sent you." "He didn't," Isaiah said firmly. "Victor did. He slid an envelope across the counter. He knows what Derek did. He wanted you to have this." Ruby hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a check large enough to change her life. "I don't want his money," she said quietly. "I just wanted a fair chance." Isaiah smiled faintly. "He said you'd say that. He told me, if she refuses the money, bring her to me." 30 minutes later, Ruby stood in the dim light of a hospital room. Machines beeped softly around Victor Kane. He looked weaker, but his eyes were sharp as ever. "You look terrible," he rasped. Ruby managed a tired smile. "You don't look much better, Mr. Kane." Victor chuckled, then coughed. "Derek's planning something. He's going to fake you at the signing. Some actress, a stand-in. He thinks he can fool Takahashi." Ruby's stomach turned. "He'll ruin the deal." Victor nodded. "Unless you stop him." "In that bag," He pointed to a garment bag hanging nearby. Is a dress. Tomorrow night you go in my place. You'll have power of attorney to act as my representative. Derek can't touch you. Ruby's breath caught. You're serious. Victor smiled weakly. You earned that seat, Ruby. Don't let him take it from you. The next night, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel glittered with gold and glass. Cameras flashed as Derek greeted guests with forced confidence. He checked his watch, sweat shining under the lights. Where's my Ruby? He hissed at Brandon. In the restroom. Her name's Candy. She's rehearsing. Derek groaned. Then the ballroom doors opened, and Hiroshi Takahashi entered. Every conversation stopped. He walked straight up to Derek. Where is Mississippi Park? He asked coldly. She's here, Derek said quickly. He gestured toward the blonde actress in a red dress. New haircut. Takahashi's gaze hardened. Ruby-san, he said to the actress, tell me what we discussed about semiconductor quality control. The woman blinked. Top quality. The room went silent. Takahashi turned to Derek. You insult me. Before Derek could respond, a voice came from the grand staircase. Confident. Unmistakable. Forgive the delay, Takahashi-san. Every head turned. Ruby descended the staircase in a deep crimson gown, her posture regal, her expression unshakable. She walked past Derek as if he were invisible. Security moved to stop her, but Isaiah stepped between them, silent and immovable. Ruby reached into her clutch and pulled out a sealed document. Power of attorney signed by Victor Kane this morning, she said. Verified and notarized. The lawyer checked it, nodded. It's legitimate. Takahashi smiled slightly. Now, this is the woman I remember. Ruby met his gaze. Shall we continue our discussion? As they walked away together, Derek's jaw tightened. His empire was slipping. The next morning, Ruby awoke to pounding on her hotel door. LAPD, open up. Within minutes, she was handcuffed, accused of stealing an $8 million diamond from the gala display. Cameras flashed, and standing near the lobby doors, sipping coffee with a smirk, was Derek Kane. Ruby shouted as they dragged her out. He's framing me. At the station, the detective slid a file toward her. We found the diamond in a safe deposit box under your name. I don't even have a box, she cried. Then Derek entered, immaculate, smiling. Let's resolve this quietly, he said, sliding a confession across the table. Sign this and you walk free. Refuse, and you'll never see daylight again. Ruby stared at him, tears burning her eyes. He leaned closer. You're nothing but a waitress who got lucky. The door slammed open. Step away from her. Isaiah stood there, but this time he wasn't in a suit. He wore tactical gear. The badge on his chest read FBI. Corporate Crimes Division. Behind him came a woman in a gray suit. Lauren Hayes, legal counsel for Victor Kane. You're too late, Derek sneered. Victor's in a coma. Lauren smiled faintly. No, he's not. The hum of an electric wheelchair filled the room. Victor Kane rolled in, pale but alive. His sharp eyes locked on his nephew. You've been busy, Derek, he said. I warned you not to cross lines you can't erase. He tapped a tablet, projecting data onto the wall. Security logs, emails, IP addresses. We traced everything. The fake deposit box. The altered timestamps. The payment to the man who planted the diamond. Derek's confidence cracked. You can't prove. We already did, Lauren interrupted. You're under arrest. The detective cuffed him as he shouted. You can't do this to me. I'm your blood. Victor's voice was quiet. Blood builds family. Character builds legacy. You had neither. As Derek was dragged away, Ruby stood up slowly. The fear in her eyes was gone. You said I was nothing, she said softly. Turns out I was everything you'll never be. The door closed behind him. Silence returned. Victor turned to Ruby. I'm retiring, he said. Isaiah's taking over. But he needs someone who understands the business. Zia smiled. I can handle security. But I need someone who can handle the world. Victor slid a contract across the table. Chief Operating Officer, Kane Tech Industries. Ruby's hands trembled. Me. You saved us, Victor said simply. Now it's your turn to lead. She signed her name. The ink barely dried when Victor added softly, Welcome to the boardroom, Mississippi Park. Morning light spilled across the glass walls of Ruby's new office, high above Los Angeles. The city she once served now stretched beneath her feet. Quiet, golden, alive. She stood by the window, her reflection faint against the skyline. Not the girl in a black apron anymore, but a woman who had learned that power isn't given. It's earned one brave choice at a time. On her desk sat a small silver pin, the same company emblem she'd worn that night at the gala. She kept it not as a trophy, but as a reminder of who she was before anyone noticed her worth. Victor's old chair was empty now, yet his voice still echoed in her memory. Integrity outlasts inheritance. Ruby glanced at her calendar. Another meeting, another deal. But this time, people waited for her to speak. She smiled not from pride but from peace. She'd survived betrayal, humiliation, and doubt, yet none of it had broken her. It had built her. Outside, the world kept rushing, just as it always had. But Ruby knew something it didn't. Real strength begins the moment you stop asking for permission to be seen. So maybe that's the lesson hidden in her story. Not about luck or revenge, but about courage. The courage to answer when the moment calls your name. If Ruby's journey moved you, help stories like hers reach more hearts. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales. Because somewhere out there, another voice is waiting to be heard.